Hello everyone, Drew here for Drew Dat Games, back with episode number 56 for the Drew Dat Games podcast here on youtube.com. Thank you for joining us. On today's episode, we'll be going over Kingdom Hearts 4, Square Enix praising Xbox Game Pass, a new addition to the Game Pass service, an update to Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, until we get an official name of it. A couple of things that leaped out to me from the Future Games Show Spring Showcase. An update to Cyberpunk 2077 and its DLC. Kojima Productions and what they're up to. And is MLB The Show 22 worth it? But before we get into any of that, joining me as usual is I'm gonna do it first this way this time. Joshy064 is here. Hey Josh.
Hello.
And joining me is the one who has been here with me on YouTube for I don't know how many fucking years now. But my younger brother,
several.
Desert Nord, yeah.
Hey there.
You were here when the Drew Dat Games podcast went under a different name, which was the 3G podcast.
Yeah.
For the first episode of it.
Yep.
But before that, we had, I had what it used to be called before it was ever live, when it was only pre-recorded with just CD, and this thing was called Unauthorized Entry.
Yep.
And at that point, it was just whatever the hell we wanted to talk about for gaming. Top 10 lists, anything that came to our attention that we wanted to talk about on camera.
Yeah, been doing this with you since 2019.
I thought it was the end of 2018 when we started any of this.
Well, yeah, it might have been, but at least 2019. Sure.
Either way. Back when no one was watching it.
Yeah.
Now we got a couple people that watch it. In spite of the fact that the channel has like 250 subs. But anyway. But with all of that in mind, apologies that I haven't streamed since Wednesday on Twitch. I've been really tired, and I usually don't stream on Fridays anyway. Because that's Friday Night Tights Day, and that's their day, much like that's Tom McDonald's day for releasing music videos. I don't like to get in the way of people that I enjoy watching on their day most of the time. And I'm never going to try to compete against Friday Night Tights. Because there's no competing with the collective firepower of Nerdrotic, D-Day Cobra, RK Outpost, Heel First's fucking Babyface, Comics Division, Odin's Movie Blog, Christy
Culture Casino.
Yeah. Well, I don't think he's ever been on Friday Night Tights, has he?
Yeah, not regularly, but he has.
Okay, I'm just talking about the regulars on there. Chrissy Mare.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Quarter Black Garrett, and I will talk about her this way. Happy birthday, X-Ray Girl.
Happy birthday, X-Ray Girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But with all that in mind, as you guys see by the thumbnail and the title of the stream, Kingdom Hearts 4 got announced already.
Yep.
Joshy, I'll let you go first here. Kingdom Hearts 4 got announced already.
Well, I see that Phil TMNT, shout out to him as well too. He noticed that there was a AT-AT or ATST lake in one of the trailers or whatnot. So basically, it's a possibility that they'll be making a release with this Kingdom Hearts 4. or whatever the Kingdom Hearts game is. So there's no telling me like what number game is there, because basically they got like 20 million games for the Kingdom Hearts. So I've never really played them, and it's just like
First of all, this is going to reflect more on tomorrow's stream for Breaking Rocks on Drudet Entertainment, which will be going live tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. But so you'll hear more about what I'm about to allude to right now. But in regards to Kingdom Hearts 4, for me, I have no fucking interest whatsoever. And it stems basically from Disney, I believe, would be getting a cut from Kingdom Hearts 4. So I'm not going to waste my fucking time buying it. And I'm just going to leave it at that and save the rest of that rant for tomorrow. Because tomorrow's stream is largely about Disney and what the hell's going on with them. So with that in mind, Nord, Kingdom Hearts 4.
Yeah, this is, again, exciting for the fans of it, but this is one of those series that you either love or you don't want anything to do with. And among those in this podcast, it's definitely on the don't care category.
In regards to past games, I have the 1.5, 2.5 HD remixes, whatever the hell they are, for the PS3. I have Kingdom Hearts 3 for the Xbox and the PlayStation, both physical copies. So I'm not a hardcore fan of it because I haven't played through the PS3 games yet, but I'm most of the way through it on PlayStation in the case of 3. But for 4, yeah, like I said, I don't want to give Disney my money, so I'm not going to waste my time. If it's in Game Pass, that's another story. But I honestly doubt it because it's a third-party game. But we'll see.
even though Kingdom Hearts has been on Game Pass, there's too many games to on different platforms to play. So basically, like, I'm like, what's the point of playing this game? Like, I don't find the game interesting at all. No. Yeah. But basically, it's like, yeah, they should. It's basically animated with Disney, and it's not like I'm not really into anime and Disney as of right now. So basically,
anime I'm willing to give a chance to, but anytime I've asked anyone who knows anything about anime, like, where can I find these shows to watch them, I never get a fucking answer. For example, I was watching a Lethal Lightning stream, and it was coming to the end of his stream, and I asked in the chat, where can I find the show that you're talking about? Never got an answer, and he ended his stream. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm not watching the show then, because I don't know where the fuck to find it. Yeah, so, yeah, I want to be interested in anime, but no one gives me an answer on where to find the shit. Is it on HBO Max? Is Crunchyroll still a thing? No one gives me an answer on anything, so.
That's what I was thinking.
I'm not going to, because I'd rather hear from Lethal Lightning, who seems to be an expert on this business. But as it is, Kingdom Hearts 4 getting announced right now. This yells to me that it ain't gonna come out for like 5-6 years from now. Especially with the fact that Kingdom Hearts 4 came out like in 2019? Right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Possibly.
19, 20, 22. That was like 3 years ago at this point.
Yeah, because they got like 2.5, 2.5.2, or whatever. They get so many games out there. It's like hard to keep track of like how many games are out there. Especially when you don't even have the system to play it on as well too. Like, oh, there's a 3DS game or wherever. Like, or whatever. Don't get me wrong. I like the idea of having with Disney film, but it's still just like they have like 20 million games like on different systems and whatnot. It was like, how am I supposed to keep track and basically like play through the whole thing? If basically I don't even have a system, you know.
Well, Kingdom Hearts these days is on most, if not all, platforms these days. So,
yeah, what I was gonna say is that Kingdom Hearts is a memorable and even we might say beloved series for a lot of people, but it's Disney is like persona non grata right now for a lot of us. So it wouldn't like matter what the quality was, frankly.
we do have someone in the chat to say hi to now, so we'll break from any discussion to say hi to Red Hood. Winked is here joining us. Hey, Red Hood. And Red Hood says, I've played part of the way through Kingdom Hearts 2 and got stuck, never picked it up. That happened to me in Spider-Man Web of Shadows. At the time on the 360, I got stuck on a part. I decided to take a break from it with the intent to go back to it. 5 years later, I went back to it because I'd forgotten all about it because of everything else that had been coming out and everything else that I was trying to get through playing at the time. But yeah. But with that in mind, like I said, and I know you guys have said already, have no interest in Kingdom Hearts 4. I just wanted to talk about it because it seemed a bit weird that it was being announced so soon after Kingdom Hearts 3, considering how long it had been after a proper Kingdom Hearts 2, not counting the 1.2 and 2. The 1.5 and 2.5 HD remixes for the PS3, not counting those. Between Kingdom Hearts 2 and Kingdom Hearts 3 getting announced and coming out. Which, as I said, makes me feel like Kingdom Hearts 4 is like 5 to 6 years from launch, at least at this point. It might even be 10 years from now. So by 2032 or something at this point. That wouldn't surprise me. Because the gaming industry does have a history of announcing stuff way the fuck too soon. Like, for example, I think it was announced in 2010, maybe 9, I can't remember. A little game that wound up being exclusive to the PS4. Fuck. Even though it was initially announced for the PlayStation 3, like early in the PlayStation 3's lifetime. I'm talking about The Last Guardian.
Yeah.
That was initially announced for the PlayStation 3, like somewhere around between 2008 to 2011 or something like that. Did not come out until we were well into the PS4 generation. Like 2015 or 16 or something like that. It might have even been 2017 when it came out. So that's the time frame that I'm feeling with Kingdom Hearts 4. It gets announced, then everyone sits around for 10 years and waits for another update for it, or for it to even come out. But what's that?
A recent example. Basically, that's not going to come up for like another 2-3 years, possibly. Yeah. And they
what
still need to work on the Cyberpunk as well too.
what game did you say? You cut out for a second.
The Witcher 4.
Well, that's a whole nother ball game because on the one hand, when it comes to the Witcher games, City Project Red knows what they're doing with that franchise. Cyberpunk was a whole new IP, so plus the Red engine is kind of outdated anyway, so I'm glad that they've said that they're going to be using the newest Unreal engine, which is Unreal 5, but still. But speaking of, I talked about Game Pass earlier. Square Enix praises Xbox Game Pass for helping Guardians of the Galaxy find a bigger audience. Joshy, you were one of the ones that downloaded this game from Game Pass as soon as it went into it.
Which game was that?
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, you were one of the ones that gave it a chance when it went into Game Pass. I bought it at launch, so or shortly thereafter. Yes, Red Hood, Elder Scrolls 6. Yeah. I'm well aware of how long it's taking and how long it will take.
Yeah, it'll be right after the return of Christ.
Well, I was thinking more the day before, but still.
No, it'll be after that. It'll be after that.
No, I'm honestly thinking it will be the day before because that's how cruel this world is. Yay, Elder Scrolls 6. It just finishes installing, and you go, fuck, I don't want to leave yet.
Yeah.
At that point, because we would finally be getting to boot up Elder Scrolls 6 for the first time, and then the Lord Jesus goes, time to come home. No.
Well, how's this for irony? if Elder Scrolls 6 is finally released in 2077. That'd be ironic.
That's so funny.
I can go further down the rabbit hole, and it's still released before Cyberpunk's DLC.
Oh yeah, well that too, but
is finished up with all promised DLC for the game. But as it is, yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy Game Pass, Joshy.
Yeah, honest opinion, no really sense of actually buying any of the Xbox games at all because basically it seems like all the popular Xbox games, like third party or first party, actually go to the Game Pass. So no need to really actually buy any of these games. Wait like a couple months and you get it on Game Pass. Unless you want to get the Game of the Year edition, then I stay away from that and then basically pay for like a cheap price for that shit.
Or unless you're a game collector like I am to a certain degree. For example, I love having a physical copy of a game in general, first and foremost, but specifically of games that I know that are good and I want to actually have it in my hands.
Especially when
Type
they
of
have
situation.
especially when they have statues for whatnot. I'd say I highly recommend pre-ordering those because there's only a certain amount of those that are I've done that.
If you got like the $200 to $300 for it, yeah. The problem is that these consoles are more than that. So, but as it is, Nord, any thoughts on Square Enix praising Game Pass for how it helped Guardians of the Galaxy?
Well, they're not wrong. It's a true statement. I mean, obviously, it broadened the horizon for its chances of getting downloaded and getting played. The press on it was not the greatest, and it's the style left a lot of people saying to themselves, well, yes, this is the Guardians of the Galaxy plot. Yes, this is a cool looking game, but it's missing the feeling. It's missing the heart. It's like a zombified version of Guardians of the Galaxy.
The gameplay is good though, so
Yeah, exactly. The game was designed well. It was well written as far as, the plot and all that. And it's just that it was missing its heart, And that's what kept it from being like Game of the Year. Or at least the nominee.
It has the soul, it has the backbone of Guardians. Yeah, it has everything else. Which is why the saying goes for Guardians of the Galaxy, don't judge a game by its case, if you will, like a book by its cover.
Well, my point is that it had the facade right. It had everything that you could see about it correct.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't have the magic, so to speak, that, like, say, the films had,
I see your point, and I do agree with that, but at the same time, I also go, it's nowhere near as shitty as the Avengers game, though, from Square Enix, either.
Oh, sure, yeah. Avengers game was terrible. Yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
And that's all I'm really saying here. Is don't judge a game by its cover. Give it a chance. You might wind up liking it. And
unless it's corporate greed, just like Avengers.
well, I didn't wind up seeing that I was aware of with Guardians of the Galaxy. So, but let's see here. What's up next? Speaking of the opposite or of corporate greed, depending on where you fall on this, Microsoft is going to launch an addition to Xbox Game Pass called the Family Plan. Cast your mind back to 2013 when the Xbox One was announced. One of the things that was announced with it was an Xbox Family Plan, so you could share your games with your family. Much like Steam wound up doing. Well, here we are again. Anyone want to chime in?
Yeah, I have to say that it's just another way for them to grab more money, isn't it?
But it's also adding more value to the Game Pass Ultimate subscription, so.
Sure, which is a good value already. So, I mean, that I wouldn't knock. I mean, obviously they should be trying to give as much as they can.
In comparison to Sony's new version of PlayStation Plus, offering less than Game Pass for more money.
Yeah.
Now that is corporate greed, folks. But Joshy,
sure, and classic Sony behavior.
Yeah, Joshy, any thoughts on Xbox Game Pass Family Plan business?
Probably not.
Right.
They tried. I know they tried doing it like earlier before, like way back when.
Yeah, but
it's a good thing that they're bringing it though.
Yeah, and at the time it was seen as a positive thing in comparison to everything else Xbox was pushing. DRM, no use games, and all this other horse shit. And then buried in there was Xbox Family Plan. Wait, what? And it kind of got lost in the shuffle of DRM, no use games. Has to always be online. You have to check in like you're a fucking criminal online. Who the fuck wants to use the system then at that point? And that's why I got a PS4 at the time. But as it is, I don't want to rehash old wounds because we've come very far with Xbox from those days. To the point where I'm starting to get more and more pissed with Sony these days. but as it is. Nintendo news next. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be delayed until next year. Josh?
Well, I've never played the first one. The I heard it's old, and there's basically like nothing there. Hopefully, they had a lot more enemies because basically, like it's an open world, and usually with open world games nowadays, there's like far few between like enemies from killing you and whatnot. So basically, you'd be like searching the whole map, whatnot, though, like looking for some enemies. Also, at the last minute, oh, here's an enemy. Oh, just get your use the Sweden.
Yeah, I have my copy of the first Breath of the Wild right here. Have not finished it. But then again, that will surprise nobody that knows me. I think I'm about 2 hours into it still. From when I first got my Switch. Because that was the first game that I bought for my Switch, by the way, when I first got it. And since then, I've added Mario Kart, Animal Crossing, which I barely started playing like 2 months ago. Super Mario 3D World, I got that when that came out. Bravely Default 2, I got that like a month after that came out. Super Mario Odyssey, I got to finish still. The new Pokemon Snap, I'm more or less, I think, done with. There isn't much left to do in that at this point. Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu, I finished that up. Super Smash Brothers, and then Scribble Nuts Showdown. I haven't even started that. That was a free game from work as a Christmas present.
Side story on Odyssey.
Yeah,
I didn't
but
like the ending. I'm not going to spoil it for you.
but Nord, any thoughts on Breath of the Wild 2 getting delayed till next year?
Yeah. Let me just start by saying that I know quite a lot about the first game,
Mm-hmm.
and it was not a game that really followed along the lines of its predecessor games involving Zelda.
Yeah.
And it definitely had a different feel. Sort of, a lot of people were like, "This isn't a Zelda game." Basically, was the criticism. But the people who didn't previously play the older games or were new to the fandom, so to speak, absolutely loved it and maybe got a distorted view of what the series is like. But by itself, if you can take out the aspects of fans not liking how it's different, it was one of the best game releases of the decade. And a really enthralling game.
Yeah.
Now, whether or not this sequel that they're producing, which is, like you just said, now delayed, ends up being near it or as good as it or better, no one could say right now, but it's got a lot to live up to as a sequel because that first one was a landmark game.
Considering that Nintendo takes care of its first party IPs, I trust them with this game. So.
Oh yeah. I have no reason not to either. So.
Yeah.
But I do know that the sequel has a lot to live up to. I mean, it's going to be really challenging for it to beat the first one.
We can,
so
we have to say the same thing about Elder Scrolls 6 versus Skyrim. So.
yeah, it's quite a mantle there too. Yeah.
Yeah, same thing goes for The Witcher 4 following Wild Hunt.
Sure, and in the case of Wild Hunt, you were dealing with one of the greatest games of all time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
Some would say
Witcher
even
4 has
better
done a
than
really hard
Skyrim.
job.
Some would say. For me personally,
Oh, yeah,
I probably would put Skyrim like neck and neck with Witcher 3, but that's just me
Yeah.
personally, though.
The Skyrim edge mostly has to do with cultural relevance and
Yeah.
the fact that a lot more outside of the gaming community ended up playing Skyrim. You know, a lot of bandwagon riders, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so it gained a lot of what you might call meme popularity, as opposed to like gamers.
Yeah. And in the case of The Witcher 3, it was just nerds and gamers that really paid attention to it.
Sure. You would ask somebody, you know, or you'd make a joke about Skyrim or something Skyrim related, and somebody who wasn't even a gamer might understand and laugh or remember that, you know. But if you make a joke about something in Witcher, you know, Witcher 3, they'd be like, wait, what? You know, it's way more obscure and more gamer like, you know.
It's a little more likely with the Witcher TV series now, but
Yeah, that helped. But it still remains more of a gamer thing. The Witcher 3 does than Skyrim, for instance.
Yeah. So speaking of gamer things, Future Game Show Spring Showcase was a couple weeks ago. It's been a couple of weeks since we've been here. By the way, I should have said this at the top to borrow a line from the end of the music video that we're going to check out tomorrow on Breaking Racks from Samson. Yeah, we're back. I should have said that at the top, but yeah, we're back. Finally, after 2 weeks of being away here. But Future Game Show. There was only 2 games to talk about as far as I'm concerned. Turbo Golf Racing, which is a golf game with cars, obviously, akin to Rocket League. So, and Rocket League is pretty fun, so I suspect this is going to be a fun arcade waste of time. Nord?
Yeah, it definitely has that feel. That was what the summary article I read said about it. It was like it looks a lot like Rocket League, and so it's probably going to have the same feel. And it, you know, like you just said, I mean, it definitely will get some, you know, immediate attention
From the trailer,
even if it doesn't.
Yeah,
even if it doesn't keep people for very long.
From the trailer that it showed, gameplay-wise, if that was gameplay in it or stylized gameplay, it felt just like the Rocket League trailer when that was first announced.
Yeah.
I mean, like, point for point with how the cars were, like, flipping and shit. And, like, pushing their golf balls. Instead of a soccer ball. But, Josh?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
What we talk?
We were talking about Turbo Golf Racing, which was announced at Future Game Show's Spring Showcase 2 weeks ago.
Actually, I haven't.
Yeah. As we were discussing, I'm surprised you didn't hear any of it.
Yeah, I heard it.
Okay.
It was supposed to be like Rocket League.
Yeah, point for point with the trailer, except for it's golf. I look forward to seeing Geeks and Gamers play it against each other. But what's that?
Yeah, I'd say yeah.
But the other game that leaped out to me from it, as I pointed out to Nord off camera, I'll point out to you guys now, when the trailer started, I'm like, there's no way that they would be showing fucking Starfield here. It's not. Then I was like, is this Outer Worlds 2? No, it's not. It's something called Deliver Us Mars, and it's coming to all platforms. Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo Switch. So, what it is, it Seems like a space exploration thing set on Mars. I'm interested because of what I was thinking it was at first with the trailer that I saw. Starfield or Outer Worlds. Considering that those are the comparisons that I was getting at first from it, I'm in. Nord?
Yep. It's definitely the selling point. Everybody loves a good space adventure. And sort of right in the vein of like, like you said, like Starfield and maybe even having some elements of Mass Effect and some elements of,
we'll see.
Maybe even Star Trek in the background.
Old Star Trek, not modern, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, it's a classic trope, and it's always been a good game style. There's been many successful games of it. That style. Let's see, that type of story.
Josh,
some of the first arcade games that were made were sort of space adventure games. So
Space Invaders, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Josh, anything?
Anything space wise, I'm actually pretty
Well, we'll see.
Give me a channel for anything space wise.
We'll see how much money this will cost to get a copy of it, or if it's in Game Pass. If it's in Game Pass, just download and play it, which is what I'm going to be paying attention to going forward, because I don't think there's a release date for it. Unless there is, and I just missed it. But on that note, Cyberpunk 2077 DLC delayed until next year. And I'll let Joshy go first because I already know what Nord's going to say because we talked about this off camera too. Josh?
Mm-hmm.
Cyberpunk's DLC delayed to next year.
It's fine that they're giving it time, but it seems like they're kind of like, what is it? Get their hands tied because they're working on Witcher 4 unless they have another team, like a separate team working on Witcher 4. So basically, I don't know. They, I think they actually kind of jumped the gun with Witcher 4. Like, oh yeah, we're getting Witcher 4, but then they kind of put Cyberpunk on the back burner unless they have a different set of people working on Witcher 4 and Cyberpunk at the same time. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like two different groups from the same company when you work on different games at the same time. I don't know, unless they're like on the back burner. Like, okay, yeah, let's put out The Witcher 4. Excuse me.
Here's the problem for me when it comes to delaying any future content for Cyberpunk. The initial launch of Cyberpunk was, by the time this DLC might come out, will have been about 3 years after the initial launch of the game, which is a problem. Because trying to get people to pay attention to a single-player game for 3 years does not happen under normal circumstances. So by the time the first wave of DLC for Cyberpunk comes out, I feel like CD Projekt Red will completely miss the boat with capitalizing on the popularity of Cyberpunk, if there was any at all, with the release of the first DLC for it, because by the time it comes out, more than likely, yeah, not many people are going to give a fuck. And given with the initial screenshot that I saw, it seems like it will be adding, if the screenshot that I saw of the updated map after the first DLC or expansion, if you will be adding a whole new section of the city to Night City, effectively, if it's to be believed. So on that note, it looks exciting. I would definitely go back to check it out. But at the same time, I think by 2023 it's going to be way too little, way the fuck too late at that point. And maybe you should just forget about Cyberpunk and just focus on The Witcher at that point. Josh?
Because all the fan base, is basically like halfway already gone, but like they surprise people. Like, here's the Series XS update, and people like, okay, let's go ahead and try it out.
And it actually works pretty well. It's not perfect.
It looks really well, and the AI actually seems like they're actual human beings instead of like a bot, whatever. So, but still, it's just like,
Well,
it's a little too late though. But like, yeah, they keep on working on it though. But it's just like it's just too late because basically, like, the fan base is probably already like diminished. Like, okay,
we have
other games as well too.
We have something to address in the chat here. Red Hood says, a lot of delays till next year. Wonder what's up with game devs these days. I think I can answer that for you, Red Hood. Cast your mind back to the start of 2020 with the start of COVID. Now, I know that even I've said I'm sick and tired of people blaming COVID for this, that, and the other thing. But the fact that developers had to stay home and work from home will and is going to have, and we're seeing it now to a certain degree, stuff getting delayed and pushed back because they can't release like half-baked shit. Although we're seeing half-baked shit coming out anyway. Cyberpunk 2077, when it first came out, it was half-baked shit. Yeah, well, that's just due to incompetence on their part because they've been releasing half-baked shit under normal circumstances. But as it is. But that's my theory on why stuff is getting pushed back. Because they need people in the fucking office working on shit. Let's be honest. That's how stuff gets properly developed. Plus the world is overreacting to fucking everything in the first place. But as it is. But those are comments for Breaking Rocks, though. But yeah. Nord, anything you want to add about the Cyberpunk DLC business?
Yeah. So what I would said before, and when we talked, and and what I'll say again is that the die has essentially been cast on Cyberpunk. Everyone knows what it's about. Everyone knows that it was a failed launch, essentially. Now, maybe it's not the worst in all of video game history, but it's a bad one because of how high the hype was. And so to continue to see other things still going wrong with it, where it took them this long to fix the damn thing that they should have had right in the first place, and now it's taking them even longer to finally release some DLC. You're like you guys said, it's not going to have a fan base by the time the first DLC comes out. People are going to be going back to it and saying, oh yeah, I remember this game. I'll play it for 10 minutes, see what the DLC is about, and then call it a day. Go back to what I actually enjoy. That's the fate of Cyberpunk at this point. And it's really sad because this game was like, this was like you were the chosen one, and it was
said you would bring balance to the gaming industry, not leave it in darkness. Anyway.
Sure, yeah. Anyway. The thing is that, yes, all these other games that are going to be produced and be worked on in the meantime are going to draw all the attention now. And any releases that get in the way, dear God, dear God, help Cyberpunk if the release of their DLC crosses any other game release, because it's going to get even less attention than it already, is going to suffer from.
Well, we already talked about something else earlier getting delayed into 2023, Breath of the Wild 2. So on paper, those have a potential to cross over.
Yeah, and it's going to be terrible for Cyberpunk, because what would you rather play? The exciting sequel to a game that everybody pretty much who played it really enjoyed and thought it was a great game, or the game that everybody was disappointed by the release of, and it took forever to get a patch on, and the DLC is all you're getting on this new story on it. I mean, like, what's the upside? Most people are going to be like, I'm not going to bother with Cyberpunk. Screw it. I'd rather play, this new, sequel game. They'd rather go for something new than something they know that was, sort of like a redheaded stepchild disappointment, so to speak, of a game.
If you're asking me what I would do between the two if both were coming out the same day, $60 game for the Switch or potential $20 DLC for something that I already got. Depends on how much money I'm working with at the moment. If I got enough money to do the $60 game, yeah, I'd probably go Breath of the Wild. But if I have any questions financially, I'd probably go, I'll just buy the DLC and play that instead. Because that's all I can do right now.
My basic point is, like, let's just assume here that a given gamer that we're talking about here has played both games, knows them both pretty well, and is faced with a decision of having to choose Breath of the Wild 2 or DLC for Cyberpunk. I'm quite sure that over 90% are going to choose Breath of the Wild 2 over DLC for Cyberpunk.
If money's not an issue, yeah, it's Breath of the Wild 2, obviously.
Yeah. And that's going to hurt Cyberpunk even more than it already is hurt.
Yeah, but
it's
but
not going to help.
But take all of this with a grain of salt for those who are watching or who will watch this later. We're not saying that Breath of the Wild 2 and the Cyberpunk DLC are coming out at the same time. We're just speculating here that if they do, you're going to have to pick something.
And my point was that, like, it doesn't even have to be Breath of the Wild 2. It could be other games. It could be other projects that, draw the attention. There will always be something. And that something is going to be up against DLC for Cyberpunk, And it just looks like the generic candidate, so to speak, is more interesting than Cyberpunk DLC. Because of what's happened with Cyberpunk.
God help Cyberpunk if it's coming out the same week for the DLC as something like, God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah, that'd be another one.
But it would be more interesting that if, like, Breath of the Wild 2 and God of War Ragnarok were close to each other. That would be more of an interesting battle for your money.
Yeah, because then you could say it's a fair fight.
Yeah.
Or, one might actually be, or it might be like, even right. But it's not with Cyberpunk DLC.
Yeah. But
again, like you guys said, the fans are going to be, off looking at other things by the time it happens. The fans are just going to be like moved on.
Depending on how it goes, if it still comes out on November 11th, there's a fair chance I'll still be playing Starfield by the time any DLC for Cyberpunk comes.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if it's anything like Skyrim, I'll probably be playing Starfield for like 20 years.
Oh, sure. If it is
when it's all said and done.
They intend it to be one of those games that you just play forever, And that's what they want it to be.
And then also, if Bethesda allows mods to be released on Xbox, God help us all at that point for Starfield.
Yeah, you're looking at a game that will eat up people's entire lives.
just like Skyrim at that point.
Yeah.
But only difference is this is what we would hope a Star Wars game would turn into if Starfield turns out to be what I expect it to be. But,
sure, and that's my kind of point about everything surrounding Cyberpunk, is that this was supposed to be, I mean, it ended up being a cultural moment in the gaming community, but not an entirely positive one.
Yeah, it turned into that for all the wrong reasons. Joshy, any last minute thoughts?
I mean, it wasn't Fallout 76. It wasn't like a nightmare, but it wasn't amazing either. It was way less than it should have been.
It was less of a nightmare compared to Fallout 76, because in Fallout 76, yeah, it was as glitchy, but you also had to contend with jackasses online not leaving you the fuck alone.
And the server.
Yeah, and the server issues. Cyberpunk, you just had to worry about a piss poor developed game. That was it.
Yeah.
So it was miles better than Fallout 76. Yep. But Joshy, any last minute thoughts on Cyberpunk before we get to the second to the last topic? Joshy, are you still alive?
I'm still here.
How was your nap? Any last minute thoughts on Cyberpunk before we move to the next topic?
I'll keep an eye on this. That's one of my high top end games, though. But still, it's just gonna be like, if it's not gonna come out till next year DLC, I'll just keep an eye on it, though.
Yeah,
I'll just play other games plus this one out.
This next item broke like minutes before we went live. It came to my attention by way of Mr. Matty Plays on YouTube. Evidently, Kojima Productions working on an Xbox exclusive, according to his reports. Despite the fact that Sony keeps claiming that Kojima Productions is a first-party studio and that Kojima himself on his own account went, pump the brakes, guys. I'm sorry I gave that indication anything. Kojima Productions is an independent studio. We do our own thing. And as soon as I saw that, I'm like, well, this sounds like someone was being led along here. Like a bad relationship. So Sony thinks that they're in a relationship together, and Kojima was like the girl going, I'm sorry, I accidentally led you along, Sony. So yeah, Kojima Productions reportedly working on an Xbox exclusive game. Josh?
Yeah, let Nord take it first.
All right, Nord.
Yeah, the Kojima story with Sony right now is just so typical of Kojima.
It makes me want to make a bowl of popcorn, and I'm all out of popcorn.
Yeah, I mean, it's first of all, let me just sort of rail on him a bit. It's a wonder this guy still has a career in gaming. Honestly, I wonder. Second, it's also a wonder why Sony feels that he's so irreplaceable or so worth spending all their time with.
Or trying to. Maybe you should ask Jeff Keighley.
Yeah. It's clearly something that a few of these guys understand, but I sure as hell don't. I wouldn't want Kojima to wash my dishes, let alone make the game for me.
Well, to be fair, Death Stranding was very interesting of a game, and not in a bad way.
Well, I think it had some major flaws that turned it into not even a video game, honestly.
True, but it was also doing some very interesting things, though, in a positive way too. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know. It It was a landmark game in its own way. I know.
And it caused people to start going, it's a Strand game. Well, what the fuck does that mean? Is that you're trying to say that this is creating a new genre? Well, we'll see if another Strand game comes out. Then I'll believe it.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
People were already underwhelmed with the first one. I mean, some people liked it, but it had a real acquired taste. So, I mean,
the only reason
people who like it are going to love it. But
the only reason that I liked Death Stranding, it was at the time on this channel. It's not up on the channel anymore. But at the time, on this channel on live stream, I had CD trying to play Death Stranding. And that made for internet gold.
Yeah.
Because half the time he spent half the stream just running from a giant whale on an ocean of ink, for lack of a better term.
What I know is that it's gonna draw the crowd that cares and nobody else. It's not an expanding player base. It's a shrinking one.
Yeah.
It's more like a excuse me. It's more like a walking simulator.
But in getting back,
That too.
we're getting pretty far from the actual topic here. Kojima Productions working on an Xbox game. What do you expect?
Nothing.
Okay, Nord.
I expect an over-promoted, hyped up movie that they call a video game.
I'm
That's the only thing he does now.
expecting a game that I need drugs to understand.
Well, that too, but that's because he doesn't know how to write.
E.T. was actually kind of good.
What was?
PT. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that thing that got pulled pretty quick. Yeah. I never had the chance to try that. Yeah. Well, it got pulled because Konami decided that they did not want to work with Kojima anymore, and then shit canned him and pulled all of his shit.
Yeah, it's actually not a bad choice, actually.
Well, it was a major controversy when it happened because they also barred him from appearing at the Video Game Awards at about that time too, which pissed off a lot of people in the industry and a lot of video gamers too. So,
Well, sure, but you understand that Kojima has had a following, like I said, love that. I mean, he's either loved or hated. He's not an in between type person.
Well,
he's not really the kind of guy that everybody goes, yeah, whatever, I don't care. They either say, I don't care, I don't know who he is, or oh my God, he's the greatest video game, mind ever.
So,
which is asinine to me, but
so let's take a quick poll here because you said something that I find interesting. Everyone is either love or hate him. So let's take a quick poll to see what we think about Kojima Productions and Kojima. Nord, yay or nay on Kojima?
Yeah, I'm a nay guy on Kojima.
Joshi?
Recent games that he develops, even though I am like say Death Stranding, which is basically a walking simulator. Nay.
I'm neither. I'm neutral on him. I don't hate him. Fuck.
Yeah, so that's two no votes and an abstention.
What I was trying to say before the controller fucking turned off again was I don't hate him. I don't love him. I just give his shit a chance and then ultimately go, yeah, great. Now I'm going to spend the rest of the day looking for any drug I can find to smoke it. Which was exactly how I felt about the Mass Effect 3 ending too.
Yeah.
But not quite as bad as Kojima's writing. So his writing, yeah, I agree with you guys. the rest of what he does, let's see what happens.
I got a funny question. Who's the worst writer, Kojima or Ryan Johnson?
Well, consider that reports have come out that Ryan Johnson did actually write The Last Jedi. It was the story group that did.
Okay, well, thank God, because if it really was him, then he should be deported.
But everyone at Disney and Lucasfilm was saying that he wrote it, which it actually wasn't him.
So he was just a fall guy, huh?
Yeah, he effectively. So on that note, to answer your question from that side of things, who was the worst writer? Ryan Johnson or Kojima?
It's Kojima. Yeah.
Given that information now, yeah, it would be Kojima.
Uh-huh. No, yeah, but if you the way that line would land, the way that phrase would sounds way worse to say Kojima is a worse writer than Ryan Johnson. People would be like, "Oh my God," just on the misconstruction.
So,
Ryan is responsible for The Last Jedi.
So on that note, chat, and anyone watching this, you heard it here first. Someone who hates Ryan Johnson just defended him. Hell has frozen over. No, hell hasn't frozen over. It's fucking gone. Hell does not exist anymore.
I'm capable of modifying my opinion based on new facts.
As am I. Because before that information, I would have went kind of a tie between who's the shittier writer.
I mean, the writers of The Last Jedi are unforgivable shit sacks. Unforgivable.
Yes.
You should be forbidden by the gods from ever being allowed to pick up a pen to write anything again.
I'm well aware that he did approve the script, Red Hood, but all I'm saying was he didn't write it. He is at fault for being one of the ones that allowed the shit show to happen. So I do blame him for that much. But I'm not saying he's a terrible writer. He's just a terrible director. Arguably the worst director of all time, in my opinion, but still. And unsub as a joke, yeah, fine. But I'm not going to unsub from you. I'm just saying. Can unsub from me as many times as you want. I say do it 3 times. So that way, in the end, you still wind up subbed when it's said and done. After clicking it 3 times.
And then you can do that, plucking rose petals type thing.
He loves me. He loves me not. He loves me. He loves me not. Or in this case, he's a shitty writer. He's not a shitty writer. He's a shitty writer. He's not a shitty writer. Good. Good. He's a shitty writer. Anyway. But,
what I think.
What's that?
What I think they're probably doing is basically just like prepping Ryan Johnson up, so what basically he can do is, if he actually has his trilogy, so I'm just saying.
But at the same time, he hasn't made like anything meaningful either, so I'm just saying. But on that note, MLB The Show 22, is it worth it? I've been playing quite a bit of it off stream. Is I don't want to stream that because of the copyright music in it. And I do have to admit the music in this MLB The Show is actually some of the best music that I've seen that I've heard in a sports game to date. It's almost on par with MLB The Show like 06 or 07. If you can remember the music that was in those ones, Nord.
Yep.
Yeah, so the music in this is pretty damn good. Gameplay
good.
is pretty
good soundtracks.
solid.
Those people are famous for good soundtracks.
Well, the last couple, I not like the music in MLB The Show, like the last two games at least. But in this one, the music
Sure, but
doesn't annoy me. So
the game itself, in case of the last two, the game itself has been one of the best sports games in the last 10 years by far.
oh,
Maybe even 20.
absolutely. But in comparison, year to year, MLB The Show, I'm willing to.
It's the music. The music decline is just a symptom of the fact that music itself in our current culture has gotten bad.
Well, it depends on where you look for it, though, too.
Sure. I'm just saying that the most popular things have deteriorated
Yeah.
from what the most popular things 10 to 15 to 20 years ago were.
And then the sounds
Yeah.
of the underground, if you will, like Samson, Tom McDonald, Chris Webby, and so on and so forth, are pretty damn good. Is what I'm saying. But MLB The Show 22, the only thing that we can really compare MLB The Show to is the previous year's games. Because Madden sucks. I don't play hockey games because I don't care about hockey, even though I'm from Minnesota. And we have the Minnesota Wild, who is a damn good NHL team, but it is what it is. NBA, I haven't cared about since we lived in Chicago, for the most part. So really, the only thing I can compare MLB The Show to is the previous year's games. And 22, I would say, is on par with 21. But I would say 20 is the last great MLB The Show. The last two have been fine. They've been good. They've been passable. But when you go from having a game that carries over what you did from the previous game to the next two games, not having that feature at all, it seems like you're just removing content from the game. And where have I heard that before? Oh yeah, EA has done that for the last 15 fucking years and then started adding shit to the game, going, see, we're putting new stuff in the game. No, you're just putting shit back in the game that you took out like 15 fucking years ago. So on that note, the show 21 and 22 are fine. They're the best sports games out there today, but 20 was better.
Yep. They took the format they used in 20 and they built off of it.
Yeah. And
so that's why these more recent two have been depreciations, because that's what happened.
In other words, I'm saying from an overall perspective of MLB The Show, the last greatest MLB The Show was back when it was exclusive to PlayStation, then I guess is what I'm saying. Because 20 was the last PlayStation exclusive one. Because now 22 is on the Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation. So,
yep.
Now, I'm not saying that MLB The Show being on all platforms is a bad thing. No, it's actually a good thing overall, because that means more people can enjoy a good, solid sports, much less baseball game. Finally. But at the same time, it feels like something's missing from it since it went from being exclusive to being multi-plat. Meanwhile, with it being a first-party Sony game, by the way, we still have a first-party Sony game that launched day and date in a Game Pass, did not go into PlayStation Now at launch whatsoever. A first-party Sony game that Sony didn't give to you in their online subscription service, well, Xbox did at launch. Think about that for a minute, folks. First-party Sony games going into Game Pass at launch. Huh.
Yeah.
Where's the value, folks? Where's the value? It's on Xbox.
Exactly.
But to answer the question, is MLB The Show 22 worth downloading and playing on Xbox Game Pass? You bet your fucking ass it is.
Especially, I would like to add something to that as well too.
Yeah.
With the perks, you have like a 10 card pack that you get for free with the Game Pass perks. Let me check it out real quick.
Yeah.
You do the Xbox Game Pass, go to perks. Let's see, what is it? Yeah, MLB The Show 2022 launch bundle, 10 free packs. So basically, you get 10 free packs this month for MLB The Show 22. And as of right now, I'm actually installing it as of right now. So
Yeah, I've been playing it
That's
on
the
my
reason why-
Series S, and I'm playing my pitcher catcher career. Coincidentally, when I started my pitcher catcher career, I just randomly said to the agent, when you start out in the road to the show mode, I'll just play for whatever team wants me. And then the phone buzzed on the thing, and it was the Minnesota Twins logo. I'm like, well, that's helpful, because that's actually a team that I don't mind playing for. My home team, the Minnesota Twins. So, because initially the first attempt at playing MLB The Show, I got drafted by the Washington Nationals. I'm like, fuck. I don't want to be in fucking Washington. For obvious reasons, but still. But when it comes to buying MLB The Show, like, for example, on PlayStation, like you have to, if you only own a PlayStation, is it worth, like, for example, $60 on PS4? It depends if you haven't played an MLB The Show or not in years. If you have 21, wait till it goes on sale for like $20, like at Target or something, or digitally online or something. But I would suggest buying it physically instead, like I so often do. If you have a PS5, then obviously it might be worth it to you to play the next gen version of MLB The Show, like I do on the Series consoles, because I have the Series. I have the next gen version because it's on Game Pass for Xbox, but is it worth buying on Xbox? Like, it, in comparison to download it on Game Pass or buy it, you're better off just downloading it off Game Pass. And then, like, if you really, really like it and want to keep playing it, and fuck off with 23 when the time comes, which I can't disagree with that logic at this point. Because if you played a sports game, each one every year, you're not really missing much from year to year. If you go every other year, yeah, it might be an improvement for you, generally. But like I'm saying, there's not really much of an improvement from 21 for me. It's almost the same exact game, except for slightly different rosters.
Basically, kind of like how EA does their football game, basically. It's just like they kind of like just update their rosters, kind of.
Except for it's a hell of a lot more polished and a hell of a lot more functional than any Madden game, by far. And there's a lot more content to it, too, that you can enjoy. Because if you don't like Road to the Show, there's franchise mode. There's March to October. And then there's obviously the exhibition mode as well. And then there's also, God help us, it does have its own Ultimate Team. But but the thing is that MLB The Show hides it on the menus too. So they generally like make you go digging for their Ultimate Team, unlike EA, who shouts from the mountaintop, Ultimate Team, and every fucking commercial for the game with Madden. San Diego Studios generally go, hey, it's MLB The Show. All these other modes, and then quietly whispering in the closet somewhere, we also have an Ultimate Team. Okay, great. I don't care. But yeah, that's the difference between the marketing between the two. One shouting about their microtransactions, the other having it in the game but not really promoting it. You can look at that however you want. Nord?
Yep.
Nothing to add?
Well, I mean, your point about the games being so similar year over year is completely true.
Yeah.
And it's only when they change things up, severely that you could say, okay, well, this game is a better game. But see, it only gets worse as they go along, so long as they're building off of a previous. Just like, I mean, with what happened with Madden, except for they were building off of a broken game, and it just gets more broken as you go.
If they had been building off of, for example, Madden 2011,
yeah,
it would be in a better place. But no, they scrapped all of that for whatever they did with 13 and then started building off of that. And that's the problem. In the case of MLB The Show, they've just been building and adding to what they had over the years. Since the very first one, I think like in 2005 or whatever it was. So like right after I graduated from high school was when the first one came out.
Yeah.
It's been that fucking long, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you just had a moment, huh?
Yeah, because that was on PlayStation 2.
Yep.
The first MLB The Show. Because we played that when it first came. Just to see what the difference was between that and like all other MLB baseball games that were out. And we wound up liking it. Not loving it, but liking it in comparison. Now, MLB The Show is really the only MLB game that actually gets our attention because it's the most polished, the most current, the most this, that, and the other thing in comparison to any other MLB games, if there are any left at this point. But that seems to be the difference with MLB The Show. There aren't too many more baseball games I see out there with the MLB license, mostly because it feels like to me, from my point of view, like MLB The Show just crushed all the competition with their success. EA had to buy out their competition with an exclusive license to the NFL. That's the difference here. The show was just so successful that they just succeeded over everyone else, and everyone else just started falling. Meanwhile, EA went, you know what? We can't compete with this 2K thing, so let's just buy the license from the NFL if we can. Oh, we can? Well, let's do
it. Yeah.
But as it is, do you guys have anything you want to bring up gaming-wise? Because that was everything I had.
I don't have anything. Yeah, I don't have anything.
Josh?
I don't have it.
So, with that in mind, what are you guys going to be playing after this? Nord?
Yeah, I just crossed my 1 year anniversary of playing ESO. And I'm sort of coming to the end, I think. So I'll be moving on very, very soon, I imagine.
Josh, what are you going to be playing?
I don't know. I might go downstairs and watch a movie.
What movie are you gonna watch?
On it?
The first one?
Yeah, the first.
Okay, yeah, I have that on DVD too. I've been meaning to watch that as well. Because that's still wrapped in plastic sitting in front of my TV from when I brought it home from the store like 4 months ago.
That's a good movie. I recommend it. Ever.
Well, I have it. I just need to find time to watch it. Much like Ghostbusters 1 and 2. I bought that like about the same time frame as Sonic the Hedgehog. And I've been meaning to watch them before eventually getting and watching the most recent Ghostbusters Afterlife. Because Mr. Spicy Beard suggested it. So shout out to Mr. Spicy Beard for any of that monkey business. But in regards to playing things, I'm going to try to go live on Twitch tonight, but I want to lay down first at some point here. It's probably going to be after Talk Nerdy to Us tonight, so it'll probably be like sometime like around 11 or 12, depending on when they wrap up. If I have the energy at that point. Otherwise, if I don't go live tonight, I will definitely be live multiple times tomorrow across this channel to try to get back to stuff that I need to wrap up on the PlayStation 4, like Horizon Forbidden West, or try to continue playing that at least, and then try to get to more of the Adventures of Drew Heartfire on Twitch, and a game that I was gonna try to play on Thursday, but I was just so tired that I fell asleep. So I didn't wind up getting to it. I'm going to try to do that tomorrow at some point as well on Twitch or Monday. So Skyrim and Horizon Forbidden West is what I'm looking at this time. So on that note, tomorrow, Breaking Rocks on Drudat Entertainment, start time of 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. On that, we will be checking out a couple of music videos by Samson. Both of them are as follows, Sixth Sense and 46 equals 13. And as you guys see by the title and the thumbnail, we're going to be talking about what the hell's going on with Disney. Because it seems like they're trying to destroy themselves. And I'll get more into any thoughts into that tomorrow on the stream.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And also to highlight something that I said about Star Wars and Disney like a while back on Breaking Rocks, I believe. In regards to if Disney goes under, what will happen to Star Wars? I talked about that in the past. Well, we're going to be bringing that up again tomorrow because it's kind of prudent with what we're seeing from Disney. So, but as it is, thank you for tuning in, guys. We appreciate you very much. Thank you to Red Hood, and shout out to my internet dad, Drunk 3PO. Yeah. And on that note, we'll see you guys tomorrow afternoon for Breaking Rocks. Until then, we'll be bringing the smoke to Disney tomorrow.
Yep.
And to a few other places. And you know who I'm talking about in regards to Brandon.
Yep. We always say, let's go, Brandon.
Well, I know what you're trying to say, Red Hood. Thanks for the stream. Yep. Anytime. As long as we have the energy and have the time to do it. Last Saturday didn't work out for any of us because I was way the fuck too tired. And next Saturday, we'll probably take next Saturday off too because Work for me next week is going to be interesting because I work Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday next week. So I only have Sunday and Monday off next week. So as it is, yeah, we're probably not going to do Breaking Rocks or this next weekend. But when I do have the energy between shifts, you will see me on Twitch at various times. So as it is, thanks, Joshy Nord, for joining me. Thank you, Red Hood. Thank you to you for watching this after the fact as well, guys. For those of you that will, I appreciate you as well. And until then, we will see you tomorrow for, as Clownfish TV puts it, your daily dose of Dismal Disney. And it's dismal as fuck. So shout out to Clownfish TV for that. And why the fuck am I trying to click that arrow? That's the chat. Here's the end stream button. Yep, I am Drunk 3PO's son. And apparently the internet nephew of Nerdrotic, as it turns out. I'm too young to be a boomer, but I act like my uncle. So shout out to Uncle Gary, too. Until then, we'll see you guys in the next time. Hopefully I clicked this right this time. See you guys tomorrow. Later.
See you guys.